Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 93 of the All JuveCast. This is the final edition of the lead up to our return to action with the Coppa Italia second leg versus Milan happening on Friday. And as promised, I've got another fantastic cast of Juventini joining me. We have Monica joining us. Monica, how are you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Doing fantastic. It's great to have you on. And she's no stranger. She's been on the podcast before. Actually, all my guests today have been guests before. We got Luca, my man, looking fantastic in that tee, by the way.
It's thanks to you, man. I look great every day when these things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then, of course, the first ever guest of the All JuveCast, like royalty around here, Rocco. Rocco, how are you doing, man? Nice kit, too.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a gift my brother gave me a long time ago, back when they were wearing this jersey. So yeah, I love the traditional yellow jersey that inspired by the city of Turin colors. But actually, I'm gonna steal your thunder there, if you don't mind, Alberto. I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a little bit of a plug and a little bit of a surprise for you as well. So first off, we have Monica, who's a member of our Bianconeri YYZ JOFC, which is Juventus official fan club, and all four of us are Canadian. I mean, you have oh my God, I forget your name, brother.
Luca here.
Luca. I was gonna say Luca. I wasn't sure if it was Luca or Mark. All right, so we have Luca out in Quebec, in Laval, and you have Monica in Toronto, myself in Toronto, and Alberto is a member right now. And even though he's all the way out in British Columbia, which is on the West Coast, but we like to collaborate with people, and we recognize the All Juventus cast as well as the Striped Hearts project that you're leading. So, we want to offer you a complimentary membership for 2021, my friend. So you're going to get one of these coming up next year. So I just wanted to say congratulations on that, buddy, and look forward to having you on next year as well.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate it. That's very, very nice. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Great news. And yeah, it was a no-brainer for me to join that club, man. It's just awesome. I mean, we hit it off from the get-go when you were a guest on, and it's just I mean, I'm all about the inclusivity that that group allows and pushes for, right? So it's just fantastic. You guys are doing an amazing job, so thank you.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say that we're going to have a campaign for our next year as well. We haven't officially kicked it off, but just to keep things exclusive on your podcast and on your show here, I just wanted to let people know that that returning members will have a reduced rate, which is $35, and new members will have $49 rate that we had advertised. So that is all the ads for this show. I'm sorry, my friend. Thank you for giving me the time.
That's awesome. Now let's get to the business at hand. We're gonna preview with a couple days going left before we play Milan. Let's start off. What I've been doing is asking the Juventini how they feel we left off before the break. So, Monica, if you don't mind leading us off, how did you feel about this particular Juventus and Sarri right before the break? We had that kind of let down against Lyon, but then that really good performance against Merda there. So let's start off with your thoughts.
A lot of people think I'm like very pro Allegri when I'm on Twitter, but I don't know. I'm not like pro Allegri and like against Sarri or anything like that. But obviously, I don't think like we're playing up to the standard, and I know that like Sarri needs to be given like the team that he wants and like his playing style. So that's in the back of my mind as well. But I just feel like we still should be playing better than we are. And that Lyon result was like, it's not even that we lost. Like we were just utter trash. Like, we were so bad. And, like, that's been a common theme. Like, we can pick, like, a handful of games where we would think, oh, like, we're turning the corner, but it still hasn't been consistent enough for, like, what I would expect from us and, like, our squad.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the same. I mean, I think Sarri, does need some players, especially in the middle of the park, more suited to his game. But at the same time, I feel we've got decent enough where he should be getting a little bit better than what we've seen. Rocco, let's go to you. Your thoughts as to where Juve left off and how you were feeling about the club.
Well, let's not forget Juventus left off on a high note, and the fact that they had beaten Inter and had finally been able to put in a significant amount of distance between themselves and the Nerazzurri. I think that that kind of victory was. I think they played that game quite well, but all of this is just put in the trash. Any kind of progress, as Sarri alluded to in today's presser, is all to be discussed. It's all up in the air right now. I think a lot of this is going to be where they pick up is not really respective of where they left off in terms of physical fitness, but as far as technical and gameplay, I agree with Monica. Like, where is this Saudi ball? Where is this thing we've been promised this whole time? I too have been disappointed. I was hopeful that they would have come a long way so far, and also the fact that they've had 2 weeks to prepare while they have been looking to get fit. I'm really hopeful that behind the scenes, let alone what you see on the YouTube videos of their practices, their little torello, their little, basics in terms of passing and shooting and warm-ups. I really hope that Sarri has been doing a lot of core work on their tactical, on their gameplay, on their ball movement, on their off-the-ball movement, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. I mean, it does.
I'd love to know. Sorry, I'd love to know, like, if any one of you guys actually feel like we've been more offensive in our play as opposed to Allegri. Like,
Well,
have we seen more positive, like, attacking football? Because I just feel like I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah. Well, let's get Luca in here because, I'm going to go back to a point Rocco made here with just talking about the tactical awareness and everything like that. And it's a unique situation, and you could look at it both ways. Like, I mean, we got stopped, but at the same time, like, with the delay, getting that group session back together, and Sarri starting to kind of figure out certain guys that need to be in the lineup in certain positions. A guy we'll get to later being benched against Merda and whatnot, Pjanic, and going with Bentancur, and then moving Ramsey into that Mezzala role, who looked night and day compared to when they were trying to slot him into trequartista. I feel like you're starting to pick it up, and maybe getting that stoppage and now having some group training, if you can work with those guys in that point, maybe it'll help us get a little bit better with what we see coming out of it. Obviously, the players are going to have some rust, and they talked in regards to their muscular decline and whatnot, because the training at home just isn't the same and everything. But it'll be interesting to see how he used the time when they got back into the group sessions, waiting for these games to actually come back into it. With Monica on whether we are more offensive, that's a tough one. I mean, our conversion rate hasn't increased whatsoever, I don't think, but there were matches where I felt we were a little more on the gas, on the throttle. But let's get to Luca. Luca, how did you feel we left off? And then touch on Monica's question.
You know what? With everything that's been going on outside of football, I almost forgot about how the team was doing until like the last couple of weeks when we started actually talking about the sport coming back again. And I think it was just our most recent fixture against Merda that gave me this this false sense that we were, on top of the world again. But then, looking back again at the matchup against Lyon, and even the first fixture of the Copa against Milan, which wasn't, I'm going to say, the worst game ever, but we walked away with just a tie. It makes me remember the fact that Sarri was having a terrible time trying to figure out what he wanted to go with, and we weren't seeing what we were promised. We weren't seeing what everyone expected. And although he was making some sort of progress, it was, bounds and years away from what we all wanted to see. So to build up on what Monica said, I did feel like there were moments in some games where offensively they were a little bit more, let's say, I don't want to say aggressive, because it wasn't that hunger that we're known to have. It wasn't the old school Juventus grinta that we've grown accustomed to. But there were moments where I feel like the movement was better. It wasn't just that sense of Allegri ball where it was always cross it in and the first one to header it and we win the game that way. It wasn't just always crosses. There was build up through the middle. It wasn't always perfect, but at least you had sense of, different tactics and different styles. So I say yes, a little bit more offensive than years past, but I wouldn't say significantly so that, it was what we expected from Sarri.
Yeah. I think it was a little hit and miss, to be honest, because we had matches where we were allowing teams to control the play, which didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But there were matches where we were on the throttle and we were pinning them back. We just weren't burying or whatnot. So I don't really know. Rocco, to answer Monica's question, do you feel we were more offensive?
I think in terms of mentality, I think we wanted to be more offensive, but in effect, I don't believe that we actually were. I think that was our aspirations. It was an aspirational kind of thing to try to be offensive, but I never saw it actually implemented. You do notice that Juve generally tries to sit a little bit further up. They're moving the center of the team a little bit further up the field and maybe trying to press a little bit more. Whereas with Allegri, especially with Ronaldo on the field, he was he was constantly doing this. Come up. And that only exacerbated the issue because you had this huge gap between midfield and forwards, right? So I think it's just aspirational right now. I haven't seen it, and it's not just the attacking football. I think it has to do with speed of play, because we saw this in several games, and I think towards the end of the Lyon game, we were pushing, but we were just sitting there atop their box and just trying to knock the ball around and trying to make something happen. Sarri has had no effect on the team in that way to make that any better in order to increase or better penetration. He's got none of that. And it's at the end of the day, one might say that Allegri's right? He used to say soccer is simple, football is simple, right? Yeah, it's made by the big players. And in that final third, it's the big players that through their inventiveness, creativity, that they try and make that final, that they pull that rabbit out of the hat and make it happen. And that's what worked out for Allegri as far as it could. Frankly, has Sarri been able to concoct this gameplay where we see that where we break teams down in that final third? No, not really.
Yeah.
And I'd say a lot has to do with the team that we have. So I strongly believe that to win the Champions League, you need to have great wingers. And Douglas Costa not being able to be fit with our midfield is just it's two wrongs. Our midfield is already wrong, and then one of our most creative players and our quickest player, a guy who can cross the ball, one of the only guys who can beat their man on our team, directly 1v1, is never fit. And I feel like you need those type of players to win the Champions League. Liverpool have those players. Real Madrid has had those players like Bale. Obviously, their midfield has been incredible. But even when Bayern was just unstoppable, they had like Robin and Ribery. Like you need those wingers, and like we can never, and we don't have a midfield like on top of that. So I just still feel like we're not good enough to
I
I don't
think
know get that like play. And like if you look at Sarri's Napoli, like he had those players with obviously not as good as the guys I've mentioned, but those players with those characteristics, and that's why he was able to play like that.
I think it depends on the style of play too, though. I mean, you could be effective in a formation that's got a striker and a second striker, just as much as with the wingers. But the thing with us, when you look at our play, and the reason it's highlighted, is there's way too many inconsistencies. Inconsistencies in the sense that how many times have one of our three midfielders ended up going out, being on the byline because one of our fullbacks just can't do his job and make that overlap. There's no reason for our midfielder to be out on a byline 1v1 against a guy. Like there, and then it just creates this domino effect where teams counter us because we just get stretched. And it happens over and over. Chiellini and Bonucci, the biggest difference between those two, Chiellini will press that line at the back and allow us to pin clubs in. Bonucci does not do that. De Ligt started to. He started to get very, very good at it. Demirol, when Demirol had that big boost in his play, he started being that guy that was doing it. And it was helping Sarri. And it was really helping our midfield to kind of pick up those pieces. But there's just these inconsistencies amongst the overall group and how they play. It's strange. We also have a right winger who had to convert to right back and ended up being our right back. I mean, would Cuadrado be – the strange thing about Cuadrado is I find him – and I can't believe I'm even saying it, but I find him better as a right back than when he's at a winger. Like, he frustrates the hell out of me as a winger. But I don't know. I just see these inconsistencies as an entire group. When you're talking about personnel and teams with amazing wingers, I mean, yeah, there's definitely guys that for Juve just haven't produced. I mean, Bernardeschi, where does he actually play? Like, there's a guy right there. Like, where does he even actually play? You have to look back to Fiorentina stat pads to actually figure out what his damn role was, because we've used him everywhere that I wouldn't even be surprised if he comes out as keeper one day. Like, it's just, where does the guy play? Costa, Monica mentioned, like, we all know his injury. Like, it's tough, man.
I'm waiting for you to bring up. I know you're just gonna explode right now. Alexandro.
Well, I talked about it. I talked about him not making his overlaps, staying really narrow to the midfield. Like, it's just when the guy's on, he's amazing.
When? Like, when has he been on since year one? Since the end, like first season, great.
But that's the point. Like our not even like just wingers. Like our wing play is just not existent at all, and like that's what Ronaldo thrives on. Like Marcelo and Ronaldo had the most incredible connection. Like, and it's the same. Like, look at the Liverpool team. Like everyone is like connected in that sense on the wings. That like, look at Liverpool's midfield. Like, it's not realistically like an unreal midfield. Like if you're comparing to Real Madrid or whatever. But their wing play is like, you need that in the Champions League. Like you need that quickness, the ability to beat your man, overlap, and like put an accurate cross in. And we don't have any of that on top of like a really bad midfield.
Yeah. And that's actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's exactly, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how Real carved us out in 2017.
Yeah, the thing is I don't like, I see it both ways. I mean, I see the cohesiveness of playing as a unit, because when you bring up Liverpool's midfield is not anything to write home about. It works though. It's like it's a cohesive unit.
Because of their like ability to just like be quick on the ball and like beat their guys. Like it's not necessarily coming from the midfield. Like Henderson is not gonna play like this crazy ball to anyone. and neither is Wijnaldum. But like they're or Fabinho, like these guys are not like flashy guys in that sense.
No, they
But
all know their roles.
everyone around them like has that ability, that skill. Like it's just like on a higher level than like someone like De Chilio or something. Like it's just not gonna happen from them.
No, but
You know what I mean?
Alexandro, but what we're getting back to is what's stopping Alexandro from doing that? Nothing. He's got the ability. He can do it. It's just, again, this is why I start questioning, like, when we were so quick to say, well, Sarri needs his guys. I agree he needs some better guys, but at the same time, I mean, making these guys work as a unit and together is essentially a coach's job. You know, like, Luca, what do you think?
I think the last time, and you guys might disagree, the last time we actually had somewhat of, let's say, strong flanks. I'm going to go back way back. Is when, you know, Dani Alves was on our wing. Like, hate the guy all you want. He took on his man. He spread our play. Sure, we had Sandro on the other side. Was it Sandro that year? Who was on the opposite side?
Sandro was
Sandro. And he didn't even play defense, and we didn't need it.
Exactly. And okay, sure, we got our asses kicked in the finals, but we made it to the finals. We had a strong team because, like you said, we had those guys on the wings taking their space, taking on their man, and making the actual crosses. So she has a point. She really.
And we had a 2-man midfield, and Khedira being one of them.
Khedira,
yeah.
Dani Alves was incredible. Like he was just like on fire. Like he's just on another level. That's what I mean.
It was a 4-2-3-1. So yeah, eventually it played out like 5 in the middle with those guys running flanks, right? It's just, again, it's set up and whatnot. And the guys we had, if you look at that personnel, I mean, is Dani Alves a step up on Danilo, Cuadrado, and De Chilio? Yeah, big time. Just a bit. Say what you want about the guy, but yeah, that's a no-brainer, right? But it still gets us to the point of Sarri and what he's doing with our current club, and like, where is it wrong? Are we actually that bad personnel-wise? I don't actually feel that way. I feel we should be getting better than what we're seeing, you know. And we're leading into this preview now. Now we're going to get into a guy that nobody knows what's going to happen with. He's linked, you know, Barca, PSG, whatnot. Like, but Miralem Pjanic. What do you do with this guy? You know, like Sarri talks about Pjanic in the presser and whatnot, you know, and talking about a look at the midfield. He goes, I found Pjanic much better than I left him. He needs to be convinced that he is a great player, that he can make a mistake in a game or two, but then he must raise his head and does not lose confidence and conviction. He has made a good journey, and in these training sessions, I've seen him in form. Like Miralem Pjanic, for me, like it's night and day when Bentancur started jumping in there, because he's actually splashing the ball around and he's actually taking that first look forward. Pjanic has just seemed to have lost himself, you know, and we dedicated a lot of this season to sticking with Pjanic, and fans were calling for that change a long time. Did Sarri's stubbornness kind of prevent us from making that progress sooner? And what do you do with a guy like Pjanic now? Like, it's up in the air. A lot of lineup cards have Bentancur starting, but it's starting to come around saying that Pjanic might actually be in there, or he might even be next to Bentancur. Who wants to kick us off on Pjanic?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's funny how we just talked about all this other stuff, and to be honest, this might all be a symptom of the same issue.
Yeah.
So as far as Pjanic's performance under Sarri, some of what Alexandro's gone through, you know, like the impact, like when they first joined the team, they brought that edge, they brought a different kind of thing. And then after a while, they just got normalized. And I don't know if that's a problem, or if, for example, everyone is so locked into this new these new tactics, and so trying to like, okay, well, I'm, Sadi's is the master, and I'm like just the little man on the TV when I'm playing, PS4, right? Like I don't know if these guys are so stuck on, oh, what should I do? What does the coach want me to do? Instead of actually just trying to make a damn play, right?
Yeah.
Instead of moving the ball quicker, right? Because I think more than anything, are like, I don't know, it may be a bit of a reductionist type of analysis, but the where we lack is the lack of like quick ball movement, even if it's just back and forth. And you saw it right at the beginning with Saudi. There was like that play along the wings. It was, you'd go to your Mezzala and then back to the CB, and then someone would make a run, and you would have that back and forth, and then you'd open it up. But I didn't see any follow up to that, and in fact, they even stopped doing that after a little bit.
That changed
So,
after we started to get worried about how many goals we conceded.
yeah, and that's the thing. We've gotten like more than, like, back to Monica's point, more attacking, and if anything, we got more leaky,
Yeah.
right? And then of course,
without that production.
without the production, you said, Monica?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think our goal production has been okay, but like, you're right. It's nothing. It's not like, oh gosh, yeah, it's true. Now we allowed 3 goals, but we scored 6, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make up for it in that amount, right?
Yeah. But yeah, you're right, Rocco. Like at the start, I was definitely like, you could see the sequences that they were attempting and how they were going to try to get the balls in behind on the wings and then attack and cut in and yeah, right around the time when everybody started talking about the amount of goals we were lacking, it just kind of like got dialed back, and we were all of a sudden starting to try and focus on not getting scored on. And he just hasn't been able to find that right balance, because we were even talking about before. There's performances where I can't believe how much possession we allow and give up, and it's bizarre to me. It's absolutely bizarre that certain teams we allow to control matches on us, and that's just, I don't know, it's mind blowing to me. But getting back to Pjanic, like, I mean, he seems checked out a lot of the time, because it's like teams have figured it out with a little bit of pressure on him. But Bentancur, for whatever reason, like, I mean, his head's always on a swivel. Pjanic has lost that. Like, you can watch him and see he's not himself. He's literally getting the ball and just, it's going back or it's going lateral. Like, that's it. Bentancur at least he's still got it in him, that hunger, that drive. Maybe Pjanic is just complacent, and hasn't had that competition. And it'll be interesting to see now, because we'll need him in a condensed schedule. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts after, the last match we played. He was benched for Bentancur. So it'll be interesting to see. But how would you expect him to bounce back? Like, Luca, what are your thoughts with the Pjanic? How do you think he's gonna be once he gets back in there? Because we're gonna need him, no doubt. We're gonna need all our guys in this condensed schedule, right?
I don't think there's a way of knowing exactly how he's going to be. I think this is going to be up to himself. Like Sadi said, it's going to be a question of whether he can find that mentality to just, that elite mentality that most top level players should have. You have a bad game, push through. I think I've heard it dozens of times. The scariest player in this world that's not Ronaldo is Ronaldo after losing a game, right? The guy after losing a game, he's working out hour after hour to get ready for the next one to prove everyone wrong. So that is, I think, going to be the key here, is whether or not he picks himself up, and whether or not Bentancur starts. Like you said, I wouldn't mind him starting next to him with Pjanic, and I'd say Bentancur holding the line, and Pjanic maybe going up a bit more in that Mezzala role. We've always said it, Al, you've always said it on the podcast several times. Maybe if we put him up higher in the field, we can rediscover what he used to be back in his Roma days. This being Pjanic, obviously. Any day, I'd do that over Khedira any day. I know that, but it's going to be up to him. I don't know how he's been training. He might be showing good signs in practice. I guess we'll see what happens in the games.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's obviously there's no way to know, but I mean, if you think about Pjanic, I mean, the criticisms in his play are not new. You know, like he's been on a little bit of a downward trend even last year and whatnot. So I'm just like, I can't help but think like if he hasn't picked it up or turned it around, and maybe it was lack of competition, you know, or knowing he was always a lock at that spot, or maybe it was just overuse. You know, like I don't know what it is, but he hasn't really turned it around now. So to think like he's got this elite mentality and it's going to turn around when we come back to it, I don't really know.
But what bothered me was that at the beginning of the season, he had a great spell for a couple of games.
He started
He was
off great.
unstoppable, and he started great. And I was like, okay, he's back. We've got something exactly what we need. He was our key player for many games at the start, and I found him to be somewhat, you know, outstanding. And then just went down from there, and that's where I'm questioning whether he's able to pick himself back up.
Well, he scored a couple. He was getting up around the top of the box, and then all of a sudden, you didn't see him go near there again. You know,
what do you guys think the big difference is really between Bentancur and Pjanic? Right. I mean, to me, what I see the biggest difference. I mean, obviously, Pjanic has a much more cultured foot, but in terms of his the performance metrics, it's intensity, right? He just doesn't have that intensity that Bentancur brings, the energy, the speed, the awareness, the alertness, right? It's like, you know, Bentancur is like Pjanic plus, you know, a vat of coffee. So that's the biggest difference that I see right now. I mean, obviously, I'm not comparing the two. Bentancur has a long way to go and grow. But you know, I don't think it's the main reason they're thinking of getting rid of him is not exactly his performance, because knowing Juventus, they would probably keep him on anyway because they know his worth, because over the course of his seasons that he spent at Juventus, he's, you know, been a value. He's been value add in terms from the free kick spot. He's been providing the assists, etc. You know, irrespective of his performance in 1.5 years' time. You know, but anyway, I think we're going to get on into that later.
I think he's just like wasted in that spot, Pjanic. Like that's really not even like where he's thrived. Like Luca said, like he was his best where he was at Roma, and I think like Bentancur just has like the physical characteristics to be more of a holder. Like he's stronger on the ball in general. Like you see many times Pjanic gets like knocked off the ball easily or loses the ball easily because of that physicality as well. And I feel like we need something more creative up front. And in terms of like a ball that's gonna cut through the lines of the defense, like I would say 9 times out of 10, I would pick Pjanic to make that ball than Bentancur. That's might just be me, but like I'm not fully convinced on Bentancur, not because of any like flaws, just because it's so early and like I'm not reactive to like, oh, he had a few good games and this and that. But yeah, I would agree with Luca saying like I'd want to see him next to Bentancur, like rather than him on the bench, just because we don't even have anything better regardless. So I just feel like you're wasting his creativity and his ability to get further up the pitch and maybe make runs or at least shoot the ball. Like that is something that we don't do at all from the midfield, is shoot the ball. And we were so used to like Vidal, Pogba, and even Pirlo hit one from long, like, and Marquisio obviously. And we have none of that now. Like we get to the top of the box and a guy is open or just have a go. And it's like, there is like a wall like that, like, oh no, we can't do that. Like we don't do that around here.
Yeah. Remember Nedved? He was lethal. He just doesn't wind up at the top of that half moon, and you're like, oh, here we go.
we we
he's going to
barely
have
get
to.
our guys into those positions though now, like midfielders. Like there'll be opportunities where like they get in there and they're just not used to it because they barely get in there. Like I said, one of them's out on the byline, and then the other one's just hanging back defensively, and the other one's just one guy will be at the top there, and should he get it, he doesn't even know what the hell to do with it because we never get there. Like the spacing of how we attack in that final third is so bizarre to me. Like watching how they get up the field positionally, it's just strange, man. It's strange to watch. But yeah, I agree. There are opportunities they have, and nobody's got the confidence. And I don't know if that's like they're always looking for Ronaldo or something. Like I have no idea why they can't just grip it and rip it. Like just take the damn shot if you have the line, right? Like if you have the lane, just take it. But Bentancur, I don't know. I wouldn't say I like the way he plays. He's not scared to take guys on. His head's always on a swivel. Like Pjanic will not do that anymore. He did at a time, offered a little more, would take a guy on, like if he could kind of throw a body feint and then go. Like Bentancur's got a lot of that in his game. He's got the legs. He's got the energy. Like you can watch the clips of him this year, not just from his couple matches in the deep line playmaker role, but even as a Metzala, he's beaten guys left and right, and he's created a lot of opportunities for us. He's got 7 assists in the league, which I think is up there. He definitely leads the team in assists. Bentancur, I see a lot in the kid. I really, really like him. And the other thing with Pjanic too is all the rumors that are circulating and whatnot, and how that's even going to play into his frame of mind as we do. So it'll be interesting to see though what ends up happening, especially with the lineup in this match against Milan. Before we get into getting into that match though, let's talk about Sarri's presser again, getting into Cristiano and Paulo. He says physically Ronaldo is fine. He logically lacks the sensations of the pitch, but his responses in training are good. And it's a nice thing because our goals for the next 3 months pass by with him. Dybala, he's a phenomenal player. The point is to make him and Cristiano coexist on the field because it is not easy to make them play together. But when two players have such qualities and they can make a difference at any moment, the rest of the team has to adapt. It's nice to have this type of difficulty. Who wants to kick us off on these words regarding Cristiano and Paulo?
One thing that I go ahead, Monica. I've been
I
talking
just
too
want to
much.
say, wasn't that what Allegri was just ripped apart about?
Yeah, but do you believe it? Do you believe they can't play together? I don't.
No.
I don't believe it, but like the fact that like I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. Go on, Rocco.
Oh, absolutely. No, for me, it's absolutely. I mean, just go back to the numbers. Go back, look last year. Every time Ronaldo scored a goal or Dybala scored a goal, Juventus scored out of all the goals they scored last year. I would say over 2/3, like 80% of them were goals that were either scored by Dybala, scored by Ronaldo, or assisted. And they often assisted each other. So I don't know why the jury's still out. I mean, to me, the two players can play together. Yeah. I think there was a question when Higuain plays as the man up top. But I thought where we left off was that Dybala was rediscovered suddenly as this falso nueve, right? And I think, at least by looking at some of the probables, that probable formations that we see out there, that's where we're going to pick it up, barring any last minute injuries by Douglas Costa.
Yeah,
I think it may be more of a point to like who is better suited with Ronaldo as opposed to like Dybala can't play or like Dybala's qualities are not there. I think just because like how Mandzukic worked with Ronaldo, he took pressure off Ronaldo like in and around the box because he was like a target man, and the same way like Benzema did. So I think maybe that's the point like that Allegri made and like Sarri made, because like Dybala isn't gonna like drag someone in the box with him and like Ronaldo and like drag someone from Ronaldo. He can drag someone like out of the box more, so to say, but like it won't be like Mandzukic. Like if Ronaldo was covered, Mandzukic was like we seen a lot like a free header at like on the right back. Like we saw that with Inter a lot when we played them. Like he scored a goal just like that because Ronaldo was able to bring, and then they would just like complement each other in that way. And I think Benzema did as well, along with Benzema like being creative as well, creating for Ronaldo. But I think so I think it's more of a sense in like who Ronaldo is used to and like having someone free up Ronaldo more in the box as well.
And I think a lot of that also has to do with your point earlier on the flank play, because we see Ronaldo often likes to start way back, way out to the side. And you're going like, why is he all the way out there, right? And I get it. Sometimes if he has like someone on him, he needs to, kind of shed that defender and lose the marker. But, like, why is he out there? And where, for example, in an attacking play, you would see a pure winger coming up the flank or Alexandro advancing, right? Instead, you just have this like tic-tac-toe kind of play and just holding on to the ball forever, and it just goes nowhere, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting, and I get your point about it's not so much a statistics, but it's more like who is better suited to play alongside Ronaldo. And honestly, in terms of, go ahead.
You see like a cross come in and like only Ronaldo's in the box, and like if you cover him, then who else is that threat, right? So,
but this is it too. Yeah. This is why I'm so. That's why I have mixed emotions about just overall like personnel or coaching. What's leading to all this, and the reason is because when you watch us play certain guys, like it looks amazing on paper with certain players that we could put out there. However, they all play the same way. We have too many guys that want the ball at feet and want to start it off and kick it off, but then all the movement dies because everybody's watching them. So it's like if you could play Dybala, Costa, and Ronaldo, all three of those guys want the ball to feet and want to kind of lead off those roles. And it's strange because you can watch it unfold. Even with like Bernardeschi takes so much heat, but I will say this, he makes a lot of good runs. Like when he was playing Trequartista there, he actually made a lot of really, really good runs and at least took guys out to like free up some space for Higuain and whatnot. Like he was at least making good runs. And a lot of the time they were never rewarded because again, sometimes it would be Blaise Matuidi who's not going to make that pass. Pjanic is lost. He's lost himself. And yeah, it's just, but Bernardeschi made great runs. When we have these guys, they just don't, we lose something. And when you add on top of it, Sandro not making the runs. Cuadrado actually does a good job on his flank. Like he will get involved. He will push up and make those, but it's just, yeah, we have too many guys that just want it at feet. And Rocco talked about it. They'll drop so far back and then there's nobody up top there. Like we create these gaps all over the pitch that it blows me away. It's just not working. That's why I get caught up in, personnel or coaching. Like why can't Sarri say like, this role, this is what needs to happen, like this, like, I don't know if sometimes there's too much freedom, and the coaches even say like with a guy like Ronaldo and even the offense, like, that last 20 yards or whatever is up to them. And it makes you wonder sometimes, like, is there maybe a little too much freedom? I don't know. I'm caught between two minds on how I feel, whether it's personnel or even coaching. And and whatnot. But
I
Luca,
have a question for you.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Rock. Go ahead, Rock. Go ahead.
No, Luca, go ahead. No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been
It's
talking
gonna be a
too
question
much.
for everybody then. Al, you're gonna start it off because you just talked about it. If you think that all three of our, let's say, our current offensive players right now, we're talking Costa, Dybala, and Ronaldo, are all very similar. My curiosity now comes, just for conversation's sake, who, example from the market today, not even the market, just a player, who would you bring in that would be different from that? Like, who would fit that system that could just stay out wide and just wait for the ball, and rather than start it up? Who would you bring in?
see, and that's tough too, because I don't know if I would start off there or whatnot. The whole problem with us is, and I mean it's a good problem, but I think
Yeah.
Ronaldo creates an issue, honestly. When you look at the team and how we're gonna do things, we know Paulo Dybala is best as a second striker. Like that's just his best. He's crushed it as a second striker. So the thing is, in this three-man, and that's probably what Sarri's alluding to, in this three-man front, he's kind of odd man out, because on the wing, we know Dybala's, he can get by. It's not the same. It's not the same Dybala. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden now, you need somebody up front that's also going to sacrifice, because no matter what anybody's opinion of Higuain is, he's sacrificed immensely this year so far. Like when he's in the lineup, he has sacrificed himself all year and done what it's taken to allow Ronaldo that freedom. And he's showed up, he's shown for the ball, he's been that pivot. He's not scoring, but he's doing what that role needs to allow Ronaldo to work. And Ronaldo's got a great goal tally, and Bipa does a part of that. So to start spotting players is tough because of Ronaldo, I think, and in that three-man front. And I don't want to lose Dybala by any means. So I really hope that this false nine thing will pan out, and it might be a matter of switching out Costa, in which point, I don't know, you start looking at wingers out there. But and the only reason Costa, I would love Costa if he could stay healthy. I would absolutely love him. I think he's tremendous when he's on. He's got consistency issues, and he's got the health issues, right? But I think positionally and just like trying to get guys to fit, Ronaldo creates a bit of this issue. But let's get Monica and Rocco's thoughts.
Go ahead, Monica.
I'm just listening right now. You go.
I honestly, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. Like, to be honest, guys, we have a huge payroll. We're so rich. We're flush in terms of forwards, and a lot of options up front. I know Saudi's like hard at it about three up front, but we could go to a two-man, attack, and Alberto alluded to, Dybala being perfect as a second striker. But like, I mean, guys, like Saudi has at his disposal some amazing tools, and he's, I don't think it's just for lack of resources that we're facing the problems that we are, especially in terms of forwards. And I think this is where when we talk about the midfield, that's where the problems start, right? In terms of, we don't have that kind of support that some European teams do. On the other hand.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't mind the trident of Ronaldo, Higuain, and Dybala. I remember when Sarri's like, oh no, like hold your horses, like this might not work, like everyone's getting too crazy about this idea. And then every time we saw them together more and more, it was working out nicely, because I really don't think Costa's gonna last. So that idea is just gonna be short-lived. So I wouldn't mind that either. And realistically, it doesn't matter in which order you put the guys up top. Like Alberto said, it seems like they have just the freedom. Ronaldo's gonna go wherever and like Dybala is best when he does that because of like his creativity slash like goal scoring. Like he can do both. So I wouldn't mind that trident either because I just don't think Costa's gonna last anyway.
Yeah.
I think back to a great trident of Juventus, and I think back to Del Piero, Vialli, and Ravanelli, and later on replaced when Boxic came in. And I got to tell you, there was no forward line that worked their ass off like they did. So if for something like that to work, I mean, yeah, Higuain is guaranteed to sacrifice himself, but also Dybala and Ronaldo need to basically be the first line of defense. Like if you're gonna press, you're gonna press all over the field, midfield and defenders. You got to pin them back. You have and they need lungs and legs of steel to go and to go all game. We know Ronaldo can do that. I don't know if he has that mentality in terms of off the ball defending. What I mean defending. But yeah, I could see that. I could see it happening. Monica, I'm not saying it's impossible. You're out to lunch. No, but I think that you need you need that mindset change. And I mean, it's hard to compare eras, right? I mean, we're talking about the mid '90s. We're talking 25 years ago. Different coach, different style. That football was at a different probably it was the beginning of modern football, of what we know as modern football today. So
Yeah, I mean, Higuain, we know. Have we found out the length of this injury that he's got? I was hearing.
No.
No, I think honestly, it's just muscle fatigue. Like him, Chiellini, and I think
Ramsey.
Bernardeschi are Sorry, who?
It was Ramsey, I think, the third
Ramsey.
guy that was getting personal training.
Yes. No, you're right. Ramsey were they're kind of fragile, right? Like they're I don't know, like their muscle tone, their conditioning's not up there, and I think it's more of a precaution that they're taking in order to make sure that they don't waste them in the first game and they're gone for a month or something like that.
Yeah. Well, let's get to this Coppa Italia secondly, because we've dissected our club quite intensely now, but let's actually talk about expectations getting back as play is going to resume. We discussed and touched briefly on the first leg, and Milan really, I think, took the game to us for most of that one. They felt very hard done by the officiating. Big surprise, but yeah, the officiating comes into discussion. They're going to be missing some key guys. Zlatan, a huge presence for them,
Castillo.
but he won't be in the lineup.
Castillo, yeah.
So yeah, Castillo. Yeah, and for us, we've seen a couple lineups shown, and it's been changing each day as we lead up to it. We'll probably see something very, very accurate tomorrow. But let's get just our thoughts going into what to expect. We know Sarri talked about how it's just a really obviously an unprecedented time because it's really hard for them as trainers to even gauge where everybody's at, because there's been a big stoppage and training at home is not the same. And we've talked about these guys with the muscular injuries, and Sarri even alluded to the muscular decline that they went through and trying to get that back up. And he says in training it looks good, but obviously the sensations in an actual match are much, much different, and we'll test these guys. But again, our opponent will be going through the same thing, right? So let's kick it off with Luca on giving us your expectations of the match, how you think it's going to go on, and then we'll kind of get into Serie A, which will be because this is the second leg of the semifinal for Coppa Italia, and then there'll be a quick turnaround on the final, and then Serie A will begin, which will be a condensed schedule where they'll be playing quite regularly. and we'll get into that. But this particular Coppa Italia second leg, what are your kind of expectations?
You know what? I fully expect Milan to do exactly like they did in the first leg, and to just give it everything they have. They have built a strong team this season. Even if Zlatan will be missing, I still think, yes, it's a crucial hit because he has played a big role with them recently. But I still think, they built up a pretty solid, I'd say, mentality. They've been strong when they've needed to. Are we playing at home or away? I forgot.
We'll be
We'll be at home. Okay. So it'll be a slight advantage. No fans, obviously, but I fully expect them to not hold back. Like you said, we don't know muscular, endurance-wise, physique. We don't know what to expect from ourselves or from them. I think the better team will obviously show up, and I'm honestly not sure what to expect in terms of results. Like, it could go either way. It really is unprecedented. It's not like it's the first game of the season and it's like, okay, let's see what Sadi has. No, this is the second leg of a Coppa Italia, fixture. So it seems like it's the first game of the season. It feels like it, like, okay, let's go out there and have fun. But no, it's like, if we don't win, we're out of a major tournament. We're out of a cup tournament. We're out of a chance, out of a trophy.
The key thing too is to factor in with this kind of pandemic that's going on is they announced €7 to €9 million for the winner of the Coppa Italia, which is kind of a big deal this particular season, with teams taking financial losses and stuff like that. So normally you wouldn't be as intense with a Coppa Italia, even as fans or whatnot. But that's kind of a big deal this time around due to the circumstances, right? Monica, what are you expecting to come from this match Friday?
I agree with I don't know with Luca. I don't really know what to expect. I've been seeing a lot about Khedira being in the lineup, and I personally don't have a problem with that, only because I'd rather him play in a second leg Coppa Italia match than everyone's gonna be used. It's inevitable that the whole team has to be used. It's impossible. We're gonna play every 3 to 4 days, and he should be enough to face a mediocre Milan squad with guys around him who can make a difference, even just individually. And he's just an easy scapegoat as well. But that's just another topic. Obviously, he's not good enough to play in a crucial match, but he does have moments where his IQ puts him in a great position, and he does get up there and he does produce some goals for us in the past. So I don't mind him being in the lineup. I'm pretty okay with what the lineup showed. Obviously, I feel like we're pretty excited about that front three. But like you said, on paper, it's exciting. So, yeah, don't really know what to expect in that sense. But, with that front three, we should be getting past the line regardless against, a Milan squad like that. So,
yeah. I agree with that. Khedira, he spoke to him too about his intelligence and whatnot. And as a coach, you can't go without him or whatnot. But he also did mention reliability, and that was the only part of it that I didn't agree with. And the only reason is not because of his intelligence, because he does make good runs. He does find spaces in the area. It's just physically he can't do what his mind wants anymore.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. We see him make these runs. He gets advanced positions. He doesn't have the legs to get back and help that unit. And he's created. Fans have ripped apart Pjanic for a lot of useless yellows. A lot of those were coming from having to bail out.
Yeah.
Just can't get back or whatnot, right? It all affects one another, and that's why I always talk about them being a unit. And Sammy, he's smart. He's good for 7 to 9 goals a season when he's in there consistently enough, but just his physically he can't do it anymore, right? In the Coppa Italia, this second leg, I wouldn't be surprised to see him start. I think if he's around, for a final 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I mean, I think that's more suited to his range. He started off this season actually like great. He really started off the season like sharp. I look back to those podcasts. I was hyping him up because I couldn't believe how good he looked at the start of the year, but it faded like fast. All of a sudden the endurance was just gone. Stamina, whatnot,
But
like he was gassed.
you look down the list and it's like, okay, well, Ramsey is out, and then it's like Rabiot, and I would have Khedira like ahead of him because he's even like, I don't know what he even is, but and then you have like, who's next? Like Bernardeschi, question mark midfielder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know. And the funny thing with Rabiot that I noticed, and it started to get me on this Alexandro phase that Rocco alluded to earlier, is all our midfielders struggle on that left side. It doesn't matter who the hell we have there; they struggle on that left side. And I swear to God, it's just Alexandro not doing the basics to help them. But Rocco, expectations, Coppa Italia, second leg here.
Yeah, I find it funny that Mr. Sarcopenia himself, Maurizio Sarri, talks about muscular decline in some of the players. That just killed me. But just touching, I'd be careful. Honestly, I am very suspect of this game. Stop laughing, Alberto. I'm very suspect of this game, honest, man. Like, I mean, if Juve has taught me anything, and being a fan for 30 some years, I mean, like, we may be our own biggest enemy. And the worst that we could be is be too calculating, thinking about, well, we're going in with the advantage of having an away goal under our belts. So, we're going to start to do a little bit of funny, wasting time and this kind of nonsense, and, slowing down the game rhythm, and, that kind of stuff. I mean,
Doesn't the away goal not count? Isn't that what they put out?
Away goals are in effect, I heard.
Yeah, in effect, yeah.
Like,
no,
they're
they count.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought I read something that said the opposite.
Unless that changed, because for the pod I did 2 days ago, yeah, the last I heard was they're in effect. So Juve's away goal was counted.
Yeah. No, so the only like funny thing about our rule change that happened is that if at the end of, let's say, 90 minutes plus extra time, or plus, sorry, additional time, added time, we have 1-1, right? So you have the same score, right? Then they'll go directly to penalties. But the first leg counts. I mean, I haven't heard anything otherwise. So, but back to the things. I mean, we have, it's just the perfect storm, right? Just the perfect storm. You have, we're ahead in the away goals, great. Milan's dismantled. They have Castillejo, who is suspended. As is Ibra, who's also injured. Castillejo got robbed yesterday, got held up, and also Theo Hernandez, who's like literally 1, 2, and 3. At least Ibrahimovic and Theo Hernandez are some of their best players in terms of performance this year. It's these, I think he plays as a fullback and has scored a load of goals this year for them as well. So all of the advantages, like the field is tipped in our favor, other than playing in a stadium with no fans. The field is tipped in our favor. I'm just saying, my expectations are quite hampered. That said, you guys brought up some good points about Khedira and lasting, gameplay, and how long can they go for it. Let's not forget that we have the 5 substitutions that are now available. I believe they're also available for the Coppa Italia, correct me if I'm wrong. So I would suspect that there's going to be a little more rotation there, a little more extra use, be it in the midfield or wherever it's needed the most as the gameplay progresses. But yeah, I mean, Milan's going to come to Turin. From what my understanding, my read of it is, they're going to have they're going to be playing with a hyper offensive 4-2-3-1 with Paqueta and Çalhanoğlu and Bonaventura behind Rebic, who's also been a threat. So, I wouldn't, and and they have that zipper as they call it in Italian, in the middle with Kessie and Benacer, who suddenly has been discovered to be this magnet for offers and for calciomercato. They're talking some nonsense I hear about 50 million euros for him. So I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I may be too pessimistic, and I often am. So I hope that's the situation. But I'm really looking forward to, of course, to seeing Juventus return to action. Maybe we can get a goal or two fairly early, and maybe the game can loosen up a little bit, because we know that Juventus can take, if anything, Sarri and Juventus at a 4-3-3 formation can really take advantage of open play, and that's really what I'm hoping for to see.
Absolutely.
Let's.
Who wants to take a shot at some predictions?
Oh,
I'm going to say we'll be at 2-1, and then late with Milan pushing, we'll get that third. Highly optimistic. 3-1.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I call I'm hanging by the like this. Like this, because I'm like, if that 2-2 goes in, we're screwed. Right? We're never going to score that 3-2, right? And we'll be out. But yeah, I don't mind that. I think it's going to be actually 2-1. And for Juve, and nail biter till the end, maybe with a scare at the end by Milan, but we might get away with it unscathed.
Monica, you want to throw a prediction out?
I can see us going to penalties.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can see us going to penalties and losing.
yep.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked. But then you just have this hope of that front three on a counterattack can be absolutely unstoppable. Douglas Costa bringing that pace with Dybala, and then obviously Ronaldo is just a threat anywhere. It makes me want to believe, but I would not be surprised if we're just stagnant and we go into penalties.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing the shot is not that wide here,
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think Rocco was on the podcast last time I mentioned that I had this dream that, Juve was playing great. We played Merida. Then there was this huge lull. And I said, it was leading up to the last match where we beat them before the stoppage. And I said, I had this dream that we were just going to turn around. We had our last fantastic match against them. And we've been sleepwalking through this period, and now we're just going to turn it around. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go with that 3-1 and try to keep it positive. Let's get to Serie A. We'll briefly touch on Serie A. Rocco mentioned 5 sub.
Alberto, I'm just gonna interject here for a second right before we get into Serie A. Just by the way, why we got COVID, right? Ramsey scored.
Oh, man.
I was waiting for that.
Come on.
Shit.
Ramsey. All right. So, Jesus Christ. We get back to the 5 subs. 5 subs. Serie A, condensed schedule. They're playing quite regularly, 2-3 days between matches. We got fans on both sides of the fence here saying, some say we're perfectly capable of handling that with the depth we have, and others are questioning the depth we have. So I'm just going to ask you guys, bottom line, how you feel we're going to deal with this condensed schedule and where you think we will finish come the end of it, should we finish, and then we'll get into the plan B, the plan C. Monica, why don't you kick us off on this one?
I'd say we're the deepest team in Serie A, by a mile, but our depth is very injury prone. So our guys who would come in the rotation, they might not even be available. So it all depends ultimately on their personal fitness. People like Chiellini and Ramsey and stuff, they they get injured without even like matches, like not even in play. So it just depends on those like external factors that like you can't control at this point, because we do have the deepest team in my opinion. But yeah, it all depends on that.
Yeah. We got fans saying, or rival fans too, saying that Juve's at the advantage because now the competitions are divided. So they can just focus on each competition as it comes. Rocco, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree that we are getting Coppa Italia out of the way early on. And, barring any injuries, I have Wood here. That might actually end up being a good one to me, hopefully two warm up matches. And of course, I'm not being arrogant and suggesting that they're merely warm up matches and then we're going to win them easily. But it will also help to get players up to form and into shape. And by the time we play Bologna, we will have had two good games under our belts, while they're going to be playing us they're basically having their first official match. So, if we're able to keep the injuries low, if we're able to have what they call a scientific turnover, or scientific man rotation is what you call it in English, I could see us doing really well and being advantaged from this. The fact that the new schedule has been a great equalizer and annihilator, if you will, in terms of Lazio would have been playing once a week, no cups, while we would have been juggling a little bit of whatever was left in Coppa Italia and all the nervous energy that Champions League would have taken away. Now we don't have that anymore, right? It is, whatever happens in Coppa, if it's going to be a disappointment, that's going to charge us up even harder to go all the way and take it. Anyone who I speak to or who I've heard speak to in terms of pundits and experts and journalists and all that, they're all like, yeah, it's a nearly certain thing. It would be absurd for Juventus not to win their ninth in a row now. But that said, virus permitting.
Yeah.
Although the Champions League format doesn't really suit us.
Yeah,
you're right. One shot game.
We'll get to
right?
Champions League. Luca, on the depth of Juve, your thoughts on that?
Literally, Monica couldn't have said it better. We have a deep team, but they're all injury prone, we have good numbers in central defense. We have zero numbers when it comes to lateral defense because we've got one guy for each position. Well, one, let's say three for that role. So my worry is going to be really our lateral play with our right and left backs and our strikers. Granted, let's say Pipita gets back in shape. That's if Costa doesn't get hurt. And then who do we have to play as a third up front? Bernadeschi at that point?
Yeah.
Quadrado, you're going to push him up. That means we're taking someone out of the back. But yeah, okay, midfield, we've got a lot of players. Center backs, we got a lot of players. Goalers, I'm not worried. But everywhere else where we're talking about before, where we need, great players, which is on our wings and, our forwards, we have almost nothing.
I don't even know if I see this depth, though. I don't know if I see this depth because when I look at the names, I'm just,
numerically.
Sorry?
Numerically, we do have the depth. And the names but Go ahead. Yeah.
Because the guys, it's okay, Bernardeschi, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, where the hell does he play? But that's a guy we consider depth. Kadir, we talked about physically. Rabiot, rumors of him heading away, and just
the thing is I agree, these players are not crazy depth in that sense, but they should be enough with a proper system to beat Bologna and that's are obviously not at our level. That's why I feel that the players should be coming in and feeling comfortable in this system, regardless of who's coming in. So that's why I feel Sarri needs his his players to suit his style, but I also feel like there's no real system because like guys are coming in and it's just like it just looks lost.
That's exactly what I was alluding to earlier. Was just saying, mixed feelings on the personnel and the coaching because it's just not working whatsoever. But again, when we talk about depth, what we've got from the guys we're considering depth, I agree. They should be able to handle Bologna and whatnot, but we've struggled against the lower sides. And just Juve in general over the past couple seasons has been bad with games that are close, like when they're close together, right? So even the fact that we've separated the competitions, we're still playing games really close to one another, and Juve's struggled in that these past couple seasons, right? So that's why I'm kind of a little weird, but I think we'll get through. I think it's a bit of a mental attack on the other clubs, especially Lazio, that was preparing for us to have to juggle all that. So I think it's kind of been a little bit of a mental advantage for us in that regard. And we'll see what ends up happening.
Something to keep. Go ahead, Rocco.
I was just going to say one other thing I was going to mention quickly was, that picture that's behind you, Alberto, that's our fortress. And that's the thing that has led to so many victories, right? The home field advantage. And if we've learned anything from Bundesliga, and we'll see if this is true in Serie A, that the lack of fans may have neutralized, at least in part, the home advantage, that home field advantage. So we'll see how that plays out with the Allianz.
Yeah. Monica, you wanted to...
Something to keep in mind is like Juventus isn't the only team with this schedule. So every other team is going to go through the same thing that we're going through. And I still feel like on paper, like we have a greater advantage, like bringing players off the bench who can make a difference as opposed to like Inter and Lazio, for example. And so like they're still going through the same 3 to 4 day matches like in between. And so it's like no different than us. I know it's just like we're hashing out our own team, but
that's the point. That's the kicker. Like, they're going to be going through the same thing, but they've also got a great understanding already. We were still transitioning, and we just haven't really, smoothed that out.
Look at like Conte. Conte like doesn't rotate. Like he's set on his guys, and like he struggles to put anyone else that into his system. Like he's set on his guys. So how is that gonna work? Like when you're gonna need to rotate your guys, right? So every team is gonna go through their issues.
Yeah, we've also got a 29.5-year-old average age, right? And we went down the list of the guys that just don't produce. I'm just not seeing a lot of that impact off the bench. I think we have a couple we could do it, but honestly, like, I don't know, like gone are the days of Sandro being able to play all these games. So, like it's weird. I would have loved to see, which I know we won't, I would have loved to see Sarri take the time to really work on a structure of a second formation that would allow more changes and a little more flexibility. But I know we won't see it, right? But it is what it is. Well, yeah, the other teams are facing some of the same challenges. It's just, again, we never hit our peak before even coming to this and having to deal with it. So it'll be interesting to see how we juggle it all. Champions League. We're going to wrap up on Champions League. News broke out that after this round, so we have the second leg coming against Lyon early in August after Serie A wraps up. And now after that round, should we make through, it becomes a single game knockout. And what are our thoughts on that, Juventus?
So you mean every game is like a final?
Yeah.
I think no one wants to say it.
But we all know it.
We're all on the same page.
Exactly. We don't need to, man. It's like, oh, hold on, one game, test match type of thing. Oh, forget it, right? Like we know how that goes, and then on neutral ground of all things, right? Because they're going to be played likely in Lisbon. I understand they've been moved to
And
Lisbon
not only
instead
that, but it's just how many first legs have we shit the bed on, like
also, yeah,
So many.
yeah,
so it's like we
yeah.
need those second legs, and now all of a sudden that's gone too. So it's like, let alone the finals, just I don't know.
The only difference for me, I would say, is like you have Ronaldo's mentality.
Mm.
So like if every game is like a final, like I'm sure he's gonna fire them up and be like force his mentality on them. That's the only like hope I would have. But then like we'll see what happens. Like if we had Ronaldo in one of the finals that we like lost in recently, I think it could have like just that mentality and like grit could have maybe put us over the edge on that. So yeah, that's the only hope I have. But still, a one-off is even like in Coppa Italia and stuff. We see like we crumble on those one-offs even in that. So.
Yeah. Or just because of the fact they've changed the format and it becomes a single game in the next rounds too. Juve wins it and everybody can use it as an asterisk for us, which I would still take it gladly.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
I
happen.
don't care about that.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen anyways.
Yeah.
I'm sure any fan, any team, like any fans of
Yeah,
their
that's
team would take that regardless.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up. We'll go across the board and we're just going to finish up with your predictions each competition. Luca, Coppa Italia.
You want the game predictions or where we're
No, I
ending?
want to know where you think, what we're going to do. Are we going to get bounced? Or are we going to win it all? Are we going to lose in the final? Coppa Italia.
Coppa Italia, I'd say we lose in the final.
Serie A.
Finish first.
Champions League.
Bounce in the next round.
Ooh, okay. Monica, Coppa Italia.
I think we lose in the final.
Okay, Serie A.
Win.
And champs.
I think I'll go with semi-final.
Semi-final. Yeah. Rocco, Coppa Italia.
I think Juve Napoli, I think we'll take them. I think we'll take the Serie A and Champions League. I think we'll get past Lyon, but not much farther than that. Yeah, I agree with Monica. Maybe semi.
All right. Well, there's the predictions. Jeez.
Well, how about yourself?
Yeah.
You guys need to watch the last episode. I said,
You made that.
I got
I do our homework.
Coppa Italia win.
Okay.
Serie A first. The ninth's coming. Champs. If we're gonna win it, it would be with something ridiculous surrounding it. It's just it's ingrained in Juve. Okay.
So you do think we have depth then?
I think we're gonna do it regardless of the depth. I think we're gonna do it regardless. I think with this or with just the circumstances, it would be the time. And just watch. And we have the advantage of the guy Monica's talking about, Ronaldo, getting an extended break, being able to rehabilitate, being able to come back with better fitness than he left in March. And guy's a game breaker. If Sarri can get the other pieces right, I don't know.
As long as he stays fit though, because we saw that period where he was just crying out for like a substitution and just some rest. So I don't even know who would come off the bench and like give him that break. So
I'm going travel. This is the year because of everything that's gone down. It makes sense. And I'm gonna be handing out the towels to the rival fans because they're gonna try and throw that asterisk on it, and I'm still gonna take it. I'm gonna say wipe up the tears, everybody.
Alberto, who's scoring the winning goal in the final of the Champions League?
Sammy Khedira.
It's tough.
Matuidi
Please.
on a free kick.
Extend the contract if he does. Oh my god.
Please. No, that's gonna wrap her up, everybody. But that was awesome. I had a blast getting all your opinions and your views. It's great. And thanks everybody for taking time to listen. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel, especially on match day. Got some really, really special coming up. But yeah, again, if you want to be part of the podcast, simply reach out on Twitter. It's at @JuveCast, and join me for a post-match pod. And even just you want to bring something up. I know Luca's reached out a couple times to say, hey, I got to get some stuff off my chest. I'm game for that too. But Luca, Monica, Rocco, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys. And everybody will talk after the second leg in the Coppa Italia against Milan. And as always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.